All right, I want to welcome everyone to the program today. And I'd like to introduce Katie Conrad. She is the Executive Director of the Rockwall County History Museum and Historical Foundation. And she has a master's degree in museum studies from Western Illinois University and a bachelor's in anthropology from Utah State University as well. And today she's going to tell us all about the history of Rockwall County, and which is kind of cool. I think it's kind of neat. It's a little county, but it's like has a lot going on in that little county. This month's sponsor is Amy Melton, so thank you, Amy, for sponsoring today. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Katie.
It's green. Ha. Okay. Do I need this?
You're not really.
Okay, good. Oh, good. All right, because I like to move around. Hello, everyone. Like Susan said, my name's Katie Conrad. I'm the director of the Rockwall County Historical Foundation Museum. We are in Harry Myers Park. Does anyone know where that's at? Has anyone been? Oh, great. Okay. So I have two. We'll get to that. But let's move forward. I just wanted to some of our new programs that we're working on right now. Little Friends of the Museum actually started on Thursday, and it went really well. So it's basically elementary age, homeschool kids, or younger. We're fine with younger. They come, we do something, we read a book related to the museum, and we do a craft or an activity. It's just for an hour, something fun to bring in little kids, teach them how to behave properly in a museum, and hopefully raise future museum goers as we go. Dr. Howe's Book Club, that's a new one starting next month. We have, one of my houses belonged to Dr. Manson, and he was the first gentleman to have the first lending library in Rockwall County out of his house. So we're like, why not do a book club? And then the last one is our Sherry Stodchill lecture series. We've been doing that for a very long time. Our new season is coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And it starts at the library in September. It's always the second Friday. All right, so a little about me. I've worked in museums for 14 years now, working on 15. Originally from Utah. My bachelor's degree is in anthropology with a focus in archaeology. I did a summer of field school, and I decided to like reading more about archaeology than doing it. I really like the air conditioning. So I'll put the stuff on display from digs and the air conditioning. My museum studies master's, and then I've been at the RCHF since June of 22. So the RCHF was founded in 1978. Like most places do, it was a group of people that love their history. They got together, they started collecting things. We are a private 501c3 in a public park. So it's a little weird sometimes to deal with that. I have 4 structures and lots of features. I have 2 very old houses, and then a tenant cabin or a sharecropper's cabin. I have a segment of the rock wall, and we're open Thursday through Saturday, 10 to 3. So, Rockwall County, there's a lot we're the smallest county in Texas, but we have a lot of stuff going on. Abbreviated history of the county. Before the 1800s, it was mostly the Spaniards in our area, along with the American Indians, the Caddo. You all know this, the Caddo was in the area. They were famous for their boat arc wood bows. That's where we get the name boat arc. They were known for terrific bow. They lived a sedentary lifestyle, agricultural. They didn't really settle in my area. My area was, they were walking through. They were looking for animals. They were looking for food, bison. My area is pretty much blackland prairie. So there wasn't a lot of natural trees unless it was along water, but lots of bison herds, lots of prairie grasses they could use, things like that. Their trade routes have been found as far across as Florida, to the Casas Grandes in Arizona and Cahokia in Illinois, and the Rio Grande in New Mexico. They had a huge trade route. Cahokia by itself was a major trade point as well. If you ever get to Illinois and get to go to Cahokia Mounds, please do. It's amazing. All right, so we're going to go chronologically because that makes the most sense. I put major historical events in here just so it makes it easier for me to keep track when I know, like, okay, World War I's coming, World War II, things like that. So we have the Texas Revolution in 1835. Daniel Rowlett, what's Rowlett's named after, migrates from Kentucky. He leads the Mercer's colony to the East Fork of the Trinity River. Rockwall a lot has to do with the East Fork of the Trinity River, and I'll show you why. It's a major tributary of the Rowlett Creek. What's funny about Rowlett is the man who it's named after never actually settled in the Rowlett territory. It's named after a creek, but Mr. Rowlett settled in Allen. He was never actually in Rowlett, so it's a little funny. Then we have the Mexican-American War. J.O. Heath, where the Heath name comes from, is among the first settlers of the area. He builds a log cabin, and it's basically like, I'm here, I built a cabin, this is Heath. That's how it went. In 1848, Boydston migrates from Illinois, and he arrived by covered wagon and settles on 572 acres, thus creating the beginning of Rockwall. I like this photo. It's of the Mikulski-Born Hardware Company in downtown Heath. I really love old photos. That was my first job, was digitizing old photos. So that's my love. I like it a lot. Okay, so let's get to the wall. 1852, Wade, Boydston, and Stevenson are digging a well on Mr. Wade's property. He needs some land. All right, so do you guys know where, I don't know if you guys know, where that neighborhood Walmart is in Rockwall? There's a neighborhood Walmart, and if you're looking at it face on, there's like a forested area to the right. That's where the first wall was found. Now, they were digging a well, and they just happened to luck out and dig right next to where one of these walls were. One of those lucky things in history, right? And they're like, well, what's this? So they do a little side excavation, didn't find anything about it, so they dug, they filled the excavation back in and went on with their business with the well. And so since then, there has been many investigations done. The Smithsonian's come out, amateurs have come out, professionals come out, of all sorts of ologies, paleontology, archaeology, anthropology, all of them. They all came out. 90% of them conclude that it's a natural formation. The other 10, not natural, but they can't tell me what or who. So, there are 16 walls. They don't make any sort of shape, and they do not all go in the same direction. And we've never found the bottom. So the television show America and Earth that came out in 2013 concluded that it was natural, and they actually dug down 50 feet, never found the bottom. So, take it what you will. There is a deep, dark black hole that you can go down if you search it on the internet. There's a bunch of stuff. But I let people decide for themselves. I give them all the evidence, and they can do what they will. That's my segment of the rock wall. It's the only place you can see it. All the walls are on private property and buried underground. It looks just like that. What you're missing, this has been outside, so you're missing a couple layers due to weathering. You're also missing a natural mortar, if you will, that makes it a solid wall. And so what the 2013 episode deduced and decided was that it's sand dikes All these walls are sand dikes that were formed about 83 million years ago. All right, so 1850 to 1899. The town of Rockwall is established, and all the men of the time, you know, I want to name it after myself, and they all just decided to decide upon Rockwall. They all got streets named after themselves, but Rockwall is Rockwall. In 1856, Chisholm purchases a town site for the land of the future town of Chisholm, which you'll recognize as McClendon Chisholm. They were separate before they connected. And then we have the Civil War. So remember when I was talking about the East Fork of the Trinity River, which is now under Lake Ray Hubbard. So there's also walls underneath the Lake Ray Hubbard. Barney Chisholm, after he was freed, settles along the East Fork of the Trinity River, south of Rockwall. And what happened there before it was Lake Ray Hubbard, it was magnificent soil because it would always flood. So you had this great soil for farmland and cows, and it became known as the settlement or the bottoms, and a lot of the formerly enslaved persons lived at the bottoms. In 1870, McClendon builds a store, cotton gin, and a blacksmith shop, which would become the McClendon-Chisholm area. This is a postcard of the south side of the square in Rockwall. Do you guys recognize that? Have you guys, how often do you guys go to Rockwall? Do you guys go quite often? Yeah, a little bit? You guys got everything here. Why didn't you go to Rockwall? But that is what it looks like today. I like this one here. It's easy to tell the difference. So pretty cool.
Is that still the original point, or did they just make it?
Nope, that's original. That's the same building. They've done a lot of work to it. But I bet you if they took this off, that decorative art is still there. This shop here is the bridal shop on the square. It still has the crowns and things. And if I'm not mistaken, there are pieces of the rock wall built into this building. So it's a lot of fun. I like looking at these and comparing. But this looks like these have all been combined into, oh, no, they haven't. They're still three separate like they were. But it looks like, yeah, they took all the extra pretty stuff off. It makes me sad. All right, so in 1873, Rockwall County is platted. The first census shows about 3,000 people. And this is where it gets kind of fun. So in 1874, the first courthouse is used in Rockwall County, and then it's destroyed by the fire the year later. And then they build another one, and then it is then destroyed by fire again. But in between then, Royce City is founded, and Fate is also founded, originally called Barnes, after a gentleman who named it after himself. Barnes is Fate. The Greenville-Dallas line reaches Rowlett, and then our second one's destroyed by fire. In 1892, the third one is built. And then by the end of 1899, the census shows 1,000 people in the city of Rockwall. So out of the 3,000 people in the county, 1,000 of them are just in Rockwall proper. This is a scene of Royce City. Another beautiful postcard. And then the other one is Fate, Main Street of Fate in about 1890. Rockwall has been part of 4 different counties in its history. So let's see. I'll have to check my notes. Okay, all right, oh, here they are. All right, 1836, it was part of Nacogdoches. And then it changed from Nacogdoches to Henderson in 1845. In 1847, it becomes Kaufman County. And then in 1873, it becomes Rockwall. So I have a couple of people who are really longtime descendants of Rockwall County citizens. I think Johnny is 6th generation Rockwall County. So if he does his family history, he has to go to Kaufman County Courthouse to find some of his ancestry, because it's all mixed in together. All right, so our first courthouse was just a little kind of shack building next to the square. And then that was our 1878 courthouse, again, destroyed by fire. This was our third courthouse, 1892. It was built of native sandstone. It was quarried about 4 miles east of Rockwall. It was beautiful. It's a beautiful building. I love this building. This is the last photo taken before it was demolished. And if I remember right, there's someone right here. There's a person sneaking into the photo. They were photo bombing, the original photo bomb. Oops, excuse me. All right, so turn of the century. Well, not turn of the century. Well, yeah, turn of the century. 1900 to where we are now. So I'm assuming it's the same. Smallpox swept through the area, 1900, 1901. Then we break out into World War I. 1921, the Bankhead Highway comes through, and it reaches through Rowlett. Today it's State Highway 66, and then 67 and 80. It's kind of a mess, but it overgoes a lot. In 1825, cotton is king in the Rockwall town, as well as the county. 60,000 acres were planted just in 1925 of just cotton. In 1936, State Highway 205 is constructed from Terrell to Highway 78, and that's how I get to work every day, is that 205. Then we have World War II, and then we have this museum with Audie Murphy. 1941, my fourth courthouse was born in the same spot as this guy. And that's the one we still have on the square today. It's the Art Deco, what's it made? It's Art Deco, very square, very geometric shape. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. Depends on who you talk to. Then in 50 to 53, we have the Korean War. The city of Rowlett is finally incorporated in 1952 by a vote of 84 people. And then we get to the Vietnam War. City of Heath is incorporated in 67. McClendon Chisholm incorporated in 69. This is the USS Rockwall. We have our own ship. It's very cool. I think it was put to sea, I forget the word for it, but it was put to sea in 45. So it was, it was put to sea. Yeah, it wasn't in use until 45. So it was later in the war, but it was used for a lot of transporting. That is the courthouse we have today, the old courthouse. So that's still up there. A lot of people don't know this, but it was painted for a celebration at one time. They painted it white, and they're covered by trees now, but there are beautiful eagles and stonework on all the sides that they painted black for the celebration. It's a really cool photo. The story with this one is because the sandstone courthouse was, it was unsafe. That's what it was deemed as unsafe. So a gentleman went to Washington, D.C. to get some money, WPA funds, if I remember right. Yeah, Works Project Administration funds. He was given $50,000. But while he was there, he got pneumonia and he died while he was there. So the city got the funds, and in his honor, they raised this one in March of 41, and this one was completed by December of 41. So if you'll notice here in this bottom photo, the wood is already stacked up on the front lawn to build the new one. I think it's a beautiful building. It's I do. I do like this one a lot. It has a lot of character to it. All right. So fast forward, 1971, Lake Ray Hubbard is completed. Just in 71. Ralph Hall, do you guys know that name? Ralph Hall becomes the first representative from Rockwall County. 1990, 1991, we have the Gulf War. Mobile City becomes incorporated in 1990. Are you guys familiar with Mobile City? Okay, long story short, they became their own town so they could sell alcohol. That was pretty much it. So the town consists, if I'm not mistaken, of a mobile home park, a liquor store, and I think a Dollar General right now. But that's the long story short, is they wanted to be able to sell alcohol. So in 2000, the Rockwall County census is 43,000 people. Then we get into our war on terrorism. In 2008, the Rockwall County Library opens. 2010, so 10 years later, 78,000 people. In 2011, I get another courthouse, the one big one we have today over on Yellow Jacket Lane. And in 2020, the census is 107,000 people. The sesquicentennial of Rockwall County was last year, and we buried a 25-year time capsule, which is to be opened in 2048. And then in less than 2 years, we have our semi-sesquicentennial of the United States. There's a lot going on soon. But what we do now is we have a fundraiser each year of an ornament. So we design an ornament every year like the White House Association does. This year, it's actually the courthouse. But in 2026, not a lot of people know this. We're going to be doing the USS Rockwall for our 2026 ornament. So I thought that would be cool. But, let's see. That is part of Lake Ray Hubbard. That's our new courthouse. That's easy enough to explain. But these are some of my favorite photos. This couple was the Martins. They lived down in the settlement on their farm that they owned themselves. They were formerly enslaved. And then below, have you guys been to the square a lot? There's a restaurant called Pier 101. It was the old Ford garage. You could buy your car there. This is also the square. So you'll recognize there's that photo, right? Or that building there. And then right here is the bridal shop. But this is fun. If you ever have time to walk around the square in downtown Rockwall, look into this old Farmers National Bank. It's still there, and it's still a bank. They still have the original marble floor. Not marble, excuse me. The little, when you have the little squares that you put into, mosaic, thank you. They still have the original mosaic floor, the same ceiling, it's beautiful, and the same vault. And it's very cool if you ever get a minute to look in there. All these buildings are still there. Even that church is still there. Let's see. So this is the Rockwall Centennial in 1954. What they did that day, or actually that week, is they made laws. So, and they had plans and activities every day, all day long. For the women who worked and the men who worked, you had to get passes. So when Rockwall was around, they didn't have makeup. So women had to have a button that said, I'm going to work, I'm allowed to wear makeup. Or the men, I have facial hair. They had to have a button. They did a lot of fun stuff for that centennial. They had a dress-up day. So this is the post office in 1911. I love when I'm able to scan these and zoom in on really cool things. My favorite things to do are old grocery stores and look into all of the stuff, because you look at old photos like that, every inch of that store is covered with product. And so you can zoom in really far and you can see all these different kinds of things. I love doing that. Well, I went through that really fast. Do you guys have any questions?
What do you think about the wall?
I think it's natural. I think it's natural. I get all the theories, all of them. The Nephilim, the giants, the Chinese, the Indians, the Paleo-Indians, the aliens. And then, you get people, not very often do I get people that say, oh, that's natural. I get a lot of people that tell me, oh, that can't be natural. But I give them all the evidence. So then I also, what I really like to do, and I get a lot of people with this, is in that episode, we dug down 50 feet, right? We had huge machinery to do that. Imagine the cubic tons of dirt moved to dig down just 50 feet, and they still never found the bottom. But I don't know about you, but that's a lot of work to do by hand. So I just let them do their thing and let them make their own decisions. Yeah.
So what, or do they say how these things form? Because they look like they have measurements that they're all about the same. So how do they determine that they're naturally made?
So, what did the guy I can't speak to how they did it before. I have a whole book of the timeline of people studying the rock wall. What I can tell you what they did in the episode was magnetometry, where the poles of the earth change every so millennia. So north becomes south and vice versa. Now, when that happens, things align with the poles. Natural. It makes sense in my head. I'm sorry.
The magnetism of the rocks are.
Yes, thank you. There's a natural magnetism in everything.
Yeah.
So they align with the poles wherever they may be. Now, once those poles are set and when those items are created, like the rock, when a rock is created, it's stopped. It's no longer able to change. So when they test the magnetometry of the rock, they are all laid the same direction. Now, if you were to go here, grab a rock, go here, grab a rock, go here, grab a rock, and bring them all to the same space, build a wall, they would all have different pole direction. All of these stones have the same direction. They were laid at the exact same time. That's hard to do. The other thing they can do is they can do testing on the organic materials around the walls. So if they found bone or anything around the wall, which they never have, they have not found bone around any of the walls that I know of. They can test the soil, and that's what they base it on. So again, take that as you will and make up your own decision.
It's pretty.
Yeah. So
do they believe that the rocks were at one time above ground?
I'm sure they were, yeah. They were sand dikes. Well, no, sand dikes, they're underground. So when we were the supercontinent, Pangea, when all the continents were connected, we were underwater. This area was underwater.
Right.
Okay, then we separated. Fast forward millennia. The area of Rockwall, probably this area, and up into Colorado was part of the Western Interior Seaway. We were underwater again. That's where we get those fantastic fossils that are in the Perot Museum. The giant turtle on the ceiling, and then is it a mosasaurus? That came from Rockwall County. So we don't have a lot of anthropological finds, but we have a ton of fossil finds. And so I don't know the purpose of a dike, I'm assuming, is to stop water, right? And that's what these were, was natural sand dikes. And the way I can explain it is, think of the creation of a fossil. You have a shape, it disintegrates, and it's filled in with sediment. And then it's just solidified to create the hard rock fossil. So you have a fissure in the ground, it's filled with sediment, it compacts, and solidifies, and you have a solid wall.
Yeah,
And
but
it
these
just so
are
happens,
individuals, right?
it just so happens to crack in that beautiful way that Mother Nature loves to do. Mother Nature and math are like peanut butter and jelly. They love being equal. So Mother Nature loves a lot of odd numbers. Our eyes love odd numbers. So when I'm designing an exhibit and I have a huge wall that I'm putting things on, I do odd numbers. Our eyes love odd numbers, and so does Mother Nature. But she loves math and she loves equilibrium.
Tell us more about your buildings. You said they're in a
Oh,
park,
yeah.
but can you go inside them? Do you have exhibits in there?
Oh shoot, I got nothing, don't I? I need pictures. All right, so I have 2 beautiful homes. The first one is that we had the first one we had, what we call the Manson Lamoureux Hartman House. And it's a beautiful white dog trot, but they've enclosed it. I don't know when, it's a mystery. I don't know when and I don't know who, but it was originally a dog trot. And the only reason I know that is because my father loves to watch those wood shows where they go to the really old wood buildings, they take them apart, and then they build something else out of them. And my dad loves those shows, and that's the only reason I know what dog trots are. But I like to explain it to people. You have a square here, you have a square here, one roof connects them with a breezeway down the middle. And the purpose of a dog trot was to separate your kitchen from your living quarters. So one square or rectangle was your stove and your kitchen, the other one was where you slept. And then the purpose of the breezeway was to just get the heat out. But it has been since enclosed, and it now houses the majority of our exhibits. So Dr. Manson, Dr. Howell, like I was telling you with the book club, he was a medical officer in the Civil War. He lost his leg to a mini ball shot. He moved to Rockwall, settled down, continued his medical practice. He also then went to own and operate the Rockwall Success newspaper. And he was also a politician. But he met his wife, Myrta, through the newspaper. She wrote for her local newspaper back east. And if I remember right, he wrote to her, said, "I love this article you wrote." And they started a conversation back and forth by letters, which we have. It's fantastic. And they ended up falling in love and getting married. Myrta moved to Rockwall. Shortly after, though, Dr. Manson passes away. And then Myrta moves in, her sister and her parents into the house. I believe that's when they added on. 4 people in that, this is about the size of one of the squares of the dog trot, okay? 4 people in that space? I don't think so. So I think they added on to the dog trot. But the cool thing is, Myrta's sister was Dr. Jessie Castle Lamoureux. She was the first female dentist in Texas. So that's pretty cool. Then, let's see. So Dr. Jessie has her office in Dallas, but I have to imagine, like, if somebody showed up on her front porch in so much pain, like, she would help them. But, let's see, Dr. Manson, Dr. Jessie, Myrta. Myrta passes away. Her parents pass away, and so Dr. Jessie is left in the house. The fun story I like to tell is there was a little girl, has to do with the library. There was a little girl that came and borrowed a book. And then she has it for a really long time. She goes to try to return it. Dr. Jessie's on the front porch. Now, from my understanding, Dr. Jessie was kind of a crunchy old lady. And she scared the little girl. So she never returned the book. And what I've been told, fast forward to when we become a museum,
the little girl, who's now a very old lady, returns the book to us. And it was the pocket size of Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Wow.
So I love telling that story. And that's the purpose of the book club. So. And then my other house is the Bailey House. It was built in 1909. It's a beautiful craftsman style home. And we have a large front porch, and it was built by Titus and Lucy Bailey. Titus was a banker in town. His brothers were a mechanic and a pharmacist. And their father owned the Bailey Hotel, which was also on the square. The house was moved to the park in 2016, 2017. They had 4 daughters in that house. And it's not typical of early Rockwall. That house is very large and big and pretty. So they were comfortable. Titus being a banker, he was comfortable, but we also think Lucy came from a wealthier family as well, because we have pictures of her just goofing around. And you don't find that very often because it was expensive. And she was also educated at Wells College, which is up the road. So they had 4 daughters. Titus died shortly after their 4th daughter was born because of the Spanish flu. The Bailey family tells us the Spanish flu, but his autopsy records say it was an accidental overdose of carbolic acid. Carbolic acid is a precursor to aspirin. So I have to imagine he was taking the aspirin to help with the flu. But if you look in newspapers of that time period, that's pretty common, the accidental overdose of carbolic acids. So it's pretty interesting what you see. Lucy never remarried. She raised all 4 of her daughters by herself in that house. She died a month short of her 103rd birthday. And then her daughters lived to be up in their 90s and high 90s as well. I usually am doing this spiel with in the house. So I'm like, how do I do this without, I'm pointing to the things I usually do and I'm not in the house. So, let's see. I can't tell you that because we're not standing on the porch. But no, you'll have to visit. The houses are fantastic.
I don't know where you're located in today's day. Where would I drive to get to you?
So if you're on the square in Rockwall, where the old courthouse, if you go southwest in Harry Meyer, I think it's southwest. I'm from mountains, so if I don't have mountains to tell me direction, I get lost.
Yeah. Where's the sun and the moon?
If you're heading down to the square, make a right.
Okay.
In Harry Myers Park. And so a lot of people will be, oh, we're in Harry Myers Park. Oh, are you those old houses? Yep, that's me.
So you've got 2 houses and then 2 other things. What are the other 2?
So I have 2 old houses, and then I have the tenant cabin. The tenant cabin is from the Pullen Farm. And it was either a sharecroppers or a tenant cabin. And that we have set up to look like a tenant's still in there. And then, let's see, I have a carriage house, but that's closed. We just use that for storage. But it's a beautiful building that looks like a replica carriage house. We have the rock wall, we have a windmill, and then a well, and an outhouse. Did I say outhouse? I have an outhouse too. I don't open that though. But
You need one of those old Sears Roebuck catalogs in there.
that is what's funny is my volunteer came in the other day and she was asking her mom about what she did, and she remembers when she was 4 years old they still had an outhouse. And what did you use for toilet paper? Oh, we used the Sears catalog. And we just let it sit there and we just used the pages. I'm like, good for you.
You used to get a telephone book every year, and they used the telephone
book?
I do this year.
Notable Rockwall, people from Rockwall, or Rockwall County? Do you know of all the different people that are notable or famous that came from Rockwall County?
I know some. There's a lot. There's a lot. I will say Shaquille O'Neal just moved there. Chuck Norris has a few homes. We have an Olympian in martial arts. We had Dr. Jesse, Ralph Hall, Dr. Jesse, the dentist.
Oh.
I have awesome female history in both of my houses and then dentistry in both of my houses. It's pretty funny. The Bailey family the Bailey house became a dentist office after. There's a lot of great people from Rockwall County. Ralph Hall.
Speaking of great people, have you ever heard the name Cameron?
Yeah.
Their parents were my next door neighbors, and in their older years and my young married years.
Yeah.
They raised their shade every morning, so I'd know that they were living that morning.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Raymond and I can't remember the other brother's name. But, okay, James, but James didn't move to Rockwall. It's two of them went to Rockwall. James went to Sulphur Springs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was American Idol finalist that was from Rockwall.
Yep. I'm terrible with names though. Show me his face, I could pick him out of a lineup.
I want to say his name was Jason. That may not be right. I remember the song.
I know who you're talking about. I could see his face.
Yeah.
I just can't remember his name.
I was told too that Steve Miller went to school in Heath. Steve Miller Band.
Mm-hmm. And then I believe, what was his name? JFK, the gentleman that assassinated JFK. Oswald. I believe his ex-wife settled in Rockwall County as well.
She lived in Greenville immediately after him.
Did she?
Yes, and it made the newspaper here to boot. I've seen the article.
She wanted just anonymity. She changed her name and everything.
Mina.
And I know who she married well, because she married a guy that was from Commerce. Okay, I know quite a bit. And my mother's first cousin, but he was younger than me, had coffee with the husband and a group of men that had coffee in the Dairy Queen. I think it was, anyway, a place of coffee in the mornings. But yes, she definitely, it's in the paper, and I know people besides that who actually saw him and everything.
I don't usually bring it up. If people ask me, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
But she did all that to get away from it, so I tried to keep her anonymity.
So you know for sure she did live in Rockwall at some point?
She still does.
Oh, so she left Greenville when he died.
I believe so.
He died.
Can't think of any more off the top of my head, but I know there's a lot more. I know there's more.
Well, Rockwall County is the richest county in the state of Texas. Correct?
Smallest, but richest. Yeah, wealthiest.
Where all the doctors and everybody, dentists moved to, I guess.
I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why. But all I've been told is we're the smallest county, but the wealthiest in the state. So.
In 1950, we had a family that moved from Rockwall to Commerce, and I heard it with my own little child, 10-year-old ears. I'm bringing my family to a bigger town than Rockwall. And that family did stay there. They didn't go back to Rockwall, but when they left, it boomed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Liz, I'm trying to think. Well, I gave you the population numbers, and it was small for a long time. It was crazy.
We went to meet them the first night they were there, because they had a child my age. Yeah, I heard him say it. I could still. Of course, he did get a good job in Commerce.
Rockwall is great. I love the county. Rockwall town is great. They love the people like the new people coming in, but they're still keeping that small town feel to it, and that's what everyone loves about it. It does feel
I think
really homey.
the Cameron guy, I think he married the Pullen lady who had all the land. I think, but I'm not positive.
You could be.
Yeah, a tremendous amount of land. Yeah, she had a lot of land. He turned it loose. Got her to turn it loose. I mean.
Well,
Awesome.
I'm done if you guys don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for writing me.
And let's see, next month's speaker is going to be Jay Gilmer. He is the head of the Beekeepers Association that's in this area. So we get to learn all about bees and beekeeping, which is really cool. And our annual dinner is coming up on August 24th, if anybody's interested. And I think that's everything. Thank you all.
Do you know what day next month's going to be?
This video has been brought to you by Juice. Juice is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.